Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today, Bankrupt joined again by Jimmy and Adam.
Hey, it's me, Adam.
Hey, it's me, Jimmy.
Today's matchup is Austin versus Adam. Austin's playing Red Blue Cooler Mill, and Adam is playing SS4 Bardock. This is technically the second round of our Team Wars. So yeah, there's buttons, links, check them out. Let's get into the matchup. We haven't seen Cooler Mill in a while, and I remember talking because Austin was one of my teammates. I haven't never actually seen Adam play Cooler Mill, but I know Adam is one of the few players who tends to just, like me, play everything he possibly can, even if it's stupid and you shouldn't play it. And I talked to Austin, I was like, yeah, he's just going to flood the board, just neg it out. So that was kind of Austin's strategy, which it normally would be for Cooler. We talked about it afterwards, or at least before recording this. You did say you had some experience against a Cooler Mill deck, or at least playing it, I think you said.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I am, as you probably know, I'm a huge fan of alternate win conditions, and so I dabbled in the cooler mill deck for a while, but I don't play it as well as Austin does. So,
And
but I knew that I needed to keep my board as clear as possible because he likes to, lower the power of my cards, and he gets to mill me for that. So.
And this is one of those few decks where you can awaken once you establish four colors. I think four colors that are in the battle area and energy. Bardock can awaken, and
yeah, three colors, but I usually don't want to awaken until I have four because I don't get all four effects on my leader swing on the awaken side if I don't have four colors.
Yeah. So I know in Austin's first round of his opponent, I think Fluff had mentioned to him that Austin shouldn't have gotten him to a certain amount of life. So I felt like this was kind of his strategy going into this game, just kind of doing a pre-talk about how our team talked before we're going into the match, because Austin obviously couldn't join us today in recording. So just kind of recapping what the strategy was going into this match.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a tough time finding the Aegis cards for charging. I prefer to charge the Aegis cards versus the burst cards that you see in the energy there when I can. But I was just having a tough time. But my main strategy was, okay, I'm going to try to. I didn't know if he was going to be playing Unison. This particular deck, the Bardock deck, eats Unisons for breakfast. It's delicious. So I wanted to kind of get his life down to as low as possible, and then maybe play a couple of the larger bombs that could either burn his energy or hit him for double strike.
Mm-hmm. I will say Austin does play two uses in this deck. The first one, he plays the blue hit, which primarily he plays it for the +1 effect. It's just a draw card. It allows him to get more resources into his hand, and because he has other cards that rely on spirit boost effects, so he feels comfortable playing that overall. He can never. I think it's a -2 and 2 blue energy, but he can never use the effect because the secondary effect's the one where it flips the leader, but your leader has to be blue or universe 6 to get that effect off in the first place. And and his secret rare choice is Go Hanks.
Yeah,
which I think is the perfect secret rare for Cooler Mill because it negs the board, I think, by like 25. Gets past barrier, has a +1 when your opponent attacks a battle card. You can neg it by 25 as well. And this cooler is really good because as long as it's
really good,
yeah, it has barrier, it's protected. As long as he keeps it in active mode and you can't tap it down. At the end of your turn, you have to mill with just one card. So it's just like a nice ongoing effect without having to worry about negging. Now, I don't remember if it has unique or not, but man, if you could establish a lot of those over a period of time, that would be just a beautiful interaction. So you're dropping a big card pretty early on, which does boost your leader. I can't remember. Is head blocker the 8 drop?
No, I don't believe so.
No, this card is incredible though. I think it's pretty well hyped, but I feel like even still, this card is really underrated. It does a lot for the 3 energy that puts down, and it's just scary to play against too. Even if you're playing it just because you don't have another play, it's still a wall that your opponent has to has to deal with.
Not only that, but it does get me to 4 colors because
Yeah.
it's red, and I don't have to pay red to actually play it, which is really nice. And it also gives my leader 5k extra for until the end of my opponent's next turn.
I feel like both of these decks are, in a way, kind of sleeper decks in the format. They're just kind of evergreen in what they do, where Bardock just does a little bit of everything, and removal and mill will always be good. Any sort of resource denial, and both of these decks have gotten like little bits of support since they've come out, that you can build them in very different ways. I think the more aggressive version of Cooler is it would be very, very strong in this current format. Like both these decks are really, really cool.
If you don't know how to deal with Cooler, I definitely agree. It could be very strong in this current format. I want to point out real quick that I had something and it started fading. Crap. It was piggybacking off
The
what
old
you
age,
said.
it happens.
I got distracted just like a second ago, and I completely forgot what I was about to say. Oh, because this is Team Wars, one of the great techs that SS4 Bardock could play is Senzu Bean, because it does play blue energy. Your leader resends the energy, so you can maximize the way you do your turns. But we saw that Adam restored green energy because one of his teammates has the Senzu Bean set, so Adam can't play that in this deck. Which I don't. Once again, it's one of those things where you don't really need it. I assume you're playing the Roshi card to combo it, and that way you could just kind of like pick up energy and do what you like with them, though.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, like, you have other options to do cool things with it. But we're not seeing a lot of negging occurring right now on Austin's part, unfortunately. Now, you are doing what that deck loves to do, and it, like you said earlier, it just eats units. Not only do you get the swing off, but it also naturally negs a marker on its own, which is just really good.
Yeah. Now Cooler's doing what Cooler does. Arrival. Yeah, the chill. That's such a great addition. But I don't like it, so I'm going to have it go to the drop instead.
Yeah, and the fact that the Bardock, if I recall, it doesn't actually have a restriction on the card that's being played, or does it?
20k or less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's perfect for that card. But Austin did have the extra energy to play the big cooler, which hits 2 cards.
That was a big brain play. I mean, he totally baited me out. I felt like I had my pants down, which was not a good feeling.
And I think it's one of the things where, because of the leader, was it negged 4 or 5 cards in total because of that?
Yeah, I think it was either 3 or 4. Yeah.
1 for each card, the leader effect, and then I think Cooler even has the discard as part of its auto as well.
Yeah.
This Cooler just has kind of stood the test of time. Like, nothing on this card is bad.
And fun fact, we had 2 people in our shop who played this Cooler in their deck to some degree. We had a blue-red Soul Striker deck that played this Cooler.
Yeah, like this card, like, just almost like way ahead of its time when it come out. It just does so much. For very simple text, it does a lot. And for 1 energy too, that's just gross.
So here we see you, as we mentioned earlier, you're just juggling your energy, causing effects to occur, and you made him bottom deck a card.
I did. Yep. Bottom deck a card and then draw 1, which, I mean, seems to be a net 0, but I've had really, really good luck with pulling, dormant potentials out of people's hands, secret rares. So it's something that I like to do.
Having your opponent choose a card out of your hand is always just a straight gamble. Like, it could either be absolutely nothing, or it could win them the entire game. I know it's a necessary evil. Every card game has it, but damn, it doesn't feel bad when your opponent just gets to pick one random card out of your 12 card hand. You're like, well, shit.
Mhm.
My game's over now.
I want to talk about this card real quick. This Z battle card is probably one of my favorite Z battle cards of all time.
It's amazing.
Like, as an AOD player,
It's so good.
I will never use its first effect, but it's overall just good for any black deck for 1 energy, 1 Z energy. I think you need a secondary Z energy to do its activate main, but it eats a card. It
Correct.
gets plus a 20k power, and you're getting all that from 1 energy initially.
And it holds that power until the start of your next turn as a blocker as well.
Yeah. So here you're doing a classic negate, which isn't bad, but he is playing multicolor, so he gets 2 more attacks after this. But
correct.
Austin plays his deck as a reactive to his opponent. Now, unfortunately, he does have a tap down energy, and if he was able to go into his secret rare in this moment, that would be a really good hit.
Yeah, I've kind of allowed my board to get a little bit messy at this point in time, and I thought that with the amount of cards that I had, that it would be amount of cards that I have in my deck, that it might be okay for me to just have one turn where I have got a bunch of guys out there. So
yeah, and I will say, unfortunately, you are 1 short, which is good for you. Unfortunate for Austin, because this card has a secondary effect where if you were, it got both effects, because choose up to 7. If you choose 5 cards, I think it gets double strike. But you have a blocker, so like, if you feel like this is a threat coming at you, you could just stop it. But this is such a great tech for this deck, because it allows them to, for activate main, think 1 energy, activate main or battle, I think it is. It just, you play it, and on play it just negs a bunch of cards. Like how Jimmy said earlier, I do agree that Cooler Mill is a very sleeper deck for this format, because so many decks now like to just vomit cards onto the battle board, or the board. And I do think not swinging is smart, unless he was trying to specifically go for it. I would have swung it for Unison, just get a swing out there, and if you blocked it, you blocked it, because now you have the Majin Buu once again to do another eat if you establish another Z card in your Z energy, or establish another Z energy.
So I swing at the leader first, just so I can make sure that I get all those effects. And one of those effects is to be able to rest a battle card, which is nice.
Yeah. So we got to talk about this real quick. You're at 6 life. I noticed this right before recording, that you happen to have done this. And I don't know how much this would have changed the overall matchup. I do feel like you're in a lead right now. And especially getting 2 more draw, or cycling a card to get 2 more cards in your hand, is very strong in the situation. But this is a
and the card that I need, the card that I really needed to kind of close out this game was already in my hand, which is about to get played. But that's a mess up on my part. But in the grand scheme, I think that it was not as pivotal in the win. So,
and I do want to go over this. Like, it's one of those things where in a normal match at this point, you're at the life to use a card like this, and so your instinct is like, oh, I can still play this card.
But absolutely.
But it's also one of those things where I know at this point Austin is getting a little bit tired. His first round didn't go 100% the way he would liked it, and he's more or less focusing on what he needs to do to maximize his turn to affect you, and he probably didn't even catch that you couldn't have used that super combo at that time, because even it's 0 naturally, and it only gets to, I think, the 10k if you have 4 life as well. So like, it's a completely dead super combo in your hand unless you're just trying to get a Vegeta in your drop.
Anytime, just for those that are listening, anytime that a mill player asks how many cards you have in your deck, pay attention, because he literally is getting rid of like probably 10 cards in my deck. I think I had like 17 or something at the time.
I just realized you actually helped him in this situation too, because you actually took more cards out of your deck than you put into it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, taking the cooler is definitely smart. Even though he's not trying to swing at your leader, he's trying to keep you at a point which feels comfortable. But I think at this point, it doesn't really matter. And Cooper is a really strong play.
Yep.
You're able to snipe a barrier card. You're able to look at his life, get rid of a card,
Yep.
and then you get to
Yep.
you
Yep.
discard a card.
Get to play a card.
I don't remember. Maybe I'm mistaken. Does Cooper make you discard your opponent discard a card?
No.
I don't think so.
I'm really curious why he discarded a card right there.
Yeah, it may have been. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, typical Evil Saiyan play. You get them to 2 life. You get rid of one of their life, and then I've got 5 or 6 cards to swing. 40k coming at him for the 1 life.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where Cooper has an interesting interaction when it comes to certain rulings. If you want to check it out, I think Jimmy correct me. 0344 is the ruling. If your opponent plays a card during your turn, Cooper's auto will proc. You seal that card. That card has an on-play auto. The master of the card gets to activate the auto instead, or use the auto instead.
Yeah.
And so here,
the master of the card activates and resolves.
Yeah, resolves the auto. Yeah.
And there was another draw off of the super combo, but you did combo a card from field and not from hand, so that combo power would have been available. But you wouldn't have got the 10k.
Yeah, and here's where in this particular setup, it's not going to matter as much. Austin's setting up for a very strong play. In more or less what he's going to try to do, he's coming up to 35,000, and then he's going to try to neg Cooper in the second, I think. It gets to 45. So right there, he's out of the combo range now. If that was valid, of course. Which unfortunately was missed.
Yep. And I think he is thinking about hitting me with another tyrannical blow.
Yeah, he seemed like playing the 5-drop cooler right now. And this is where you got to know this ruling. And this is Team Wars. I was still in my matchup, and I was sitting in the middle of our group. And not once did he ask me, like I said earlier, he was kind of at that point, he was just done. But he didn't, we didn't really communicate much in this matchup because I was just so focused in my matchup. I didn't even notice what was happening until I heard, I think Adam say, yeah, I get to take that card and resolve the auto. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, he's right. Dude, I'm sorry. I didn't see that happening before it was too late. But yeah, it's an interesting interaction. He pretty much just said that's it. He's done.
Yeah, it was tough.
So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Keep on those buttons down below. Just links in the description. Check them out. Bye.